Hello and welcome back to Small Screen Stories. This is the daily show where I go over the news in the world of entertainment and pop culture. My name is Edward Lauder. I'm the editor of Small Screen. Before I get started, if you guys could like and subscribe on YouTube, that'd be fantastic. If you could also like the video and follow the Facebook page and like the Facebook page, that would also be really, really appreciated. And if you'd rather listen to these as podcasts, you can, because this is available wherever you get your podcasts at Small Screen Stories. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, then a 5-star rating would be very much appreciated. Thank you very, very much. And let's just get started with the news. And the biggest news of the day, as far as I'm concerned, is that Zack Snyder's Justice League might be getting an R-rated cinema release. Yes, this is something that I was actually kind of wondering about. Like, what is going to happen with the cinema release of Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League? Is it going to happen? The rumors were that it was going to happen. That was what we were told. We know that it's coming to HBO Max, but now Zack Snyder himself, in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, revealed that they are working on an R-rated cut of the movie, which would be for theatrical release. So let me get I'll get the quote up here. So he says, "Here's one piece of information nobody knows. The movie is insane and so epic, and is probably rated R. That's the one thing I think will happen. That it'll be an R-rated version for sure. We haven't heard anything from MPAA, but that's my gut. There's one scene where Batman drops an F-bomb. Cyborg is not too happy with what's going on with his life, before he meets the Justice League, and he tends to speak his mind. And Steppenwolf is pretty much just hacking people in half. So the rating would be due to violence, profanity, and probably both. I'm a huge fan." So then he started talking about cinema releases. So he said, "I'm a huge fan and big supporter of the cinematic experience, and we're already talking about Justice League playing theatrically at the same time it's coming out to HBO Max. So weirdly, it's the reverse of the trend." So this is actually the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it's pretty big news. We already know that that Warner Brothers is planning on releasing all of their movies day and date on both HBO Max and in cinemas next year. So that's 2021. They've come under heavy scrutiny because of this, especially from filmmakers and also some actors as well. Have been really upset about this. Rightly so, to be honest. It's not very good for Warner Brothers, this, because they didn't talk to them. They didn't talk to the cinema. They didn't talk to their filmmakers beforehand. And it seems as though, like, Zack Snyder always knew that his movie was going to be coming to HBO Max, so it seems as though he's not quite as upset with it, but he's still very much an advocate for the cinematic experience. So for him, it would probably be just as important for it to come to cinemas as it is coming to HBO Max, and the mere fact that he's making it at all. So what do you guys think about this? Is this something that you're excited by? The idea of seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, wherever you are. If you're commenting on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, I'm trying to keep an eye on all of them, but just let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Right, moving on to another kind of R-rated story, and that's Robert Pattinson's The Batman movie is rumored to be R-rated. So this is, of course, the film that he's making with Matt Reeves, that they are currently filming it right now. And it seems as though, as this is according to Daniel Rickman, who is an insider, I call him a serial scooper. But according to him and his sources, it seems as though this movie is going to end up being R-rated. So it really does seem as though Warner Brothers, they don't really mind releasing these movies. A couple of years ago, this was of course before like Deadpool was made, it would have been a definite no-no to have to even think of a comic book movie being R-rated, because they wanted to make sure that these films had as wide an audience as possible. The problem is that lots of these films are very mature just in their themes anyway. You know, it's of course Batman is a pretty violent character, especially in the comics. But so in order to do that character justice, I actually do think the only way they could do it is by making it R-rated, because if you think about Batman movies of the past, I mean, the Tim Burton films were pretty violent, as were the Christopher Nolan films, but they kind of got away with it because they didn't use swear words, and there was no blood in either of them, I believe, especially not Christopher Nolan's Batman films. But this one will be quite different, I think. I think they'll be looking at making it even more realistic than some of the other ones. They'll be making it, just judging by the trailer, it seems as though it's even more violent. So, and now they know, thanks to films like Deadpool 2, Logan, most recently Joker, R-rated films do actually and can end up making over $1 billion at the box office. Because if they're good, people go and see them over and over and over again. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm kind of happy to hear that it could possibly be R-rated, but I don't think... It is important because it kind of, you can push the boundaries of the movie. The main thing to me is that it has to be a good R-rated film, because if it's a bad R-rated film, it doesn't matter, it won't make any money. It needs to be good, it needs to warrant repeat viewings, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, I believe that Matt Reeves is a very talented filmmaker, and I think he would be more than capable of making a very good R-rated movie. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Do you think that Batman should be R-rated? Are you excited to hear that it's R-rated? Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Right, moving on to our exclusive of the day, and that's that Jon Bernthal is reportedly in talks to return as the Punisher in the MCU. Yes, this is an exclusive, a small screen exclusive. I'll basically what I usually do is actually give you some of the quotes of the sources that spoke to me. I do ask them beforehand if they're okay with this sort of thing. Some of them say yes, some of them say no. If they say no, I don't direct quote them, but I do kind of give you a gist of what they've been telling me. But I just like the... I think, well, it makes it easier for me to write the articles, I'm going to be completely honest, if I can direct quote them. But also I think it gives a nice insight to what I do. But yeah, so this is something that fans have been kind of clamoring for such a long time now. Ever since the Punisher series on Netflix was cancelled, people have been demanding that two things, either they bring back or they bring Jon Bernthal into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the Punisher, or they bring back the Netflix series. Well, Netflix opted not to renew the show, which I've heard some people say that that's a sign that they didn't think the show was very good. But I actually wonder whether it was more to do with pressure from Marvel, specifically from Kevin Feige, for them not to renew these shows so that they could have the characters back within the MCU, specifically under their control. Because what they were doing with Netflix, and I can't remember the name of the guy that was heading up those Netflix shows, but he famously didn't get along with Kevin Feige, and now I think he's gone. So Kevin Feige is a big fan of these characters. He's a big fan of all Marvel characters, but he's spoken at length actually about his love of Daredevil and the Punisher in the past and those comics. And we've already heard news that Charlie Cox is coming back, reportedly coming back as Daredevil, and that specifically is for Spider-Man 3, reportedly. But this, I did ask the sources about this, if whether this is for Spider-Man 3, and they said no, thank God, because if it were for Spider-Man 3, I'd be like, this film is way too loaded, and I'm going to talk about some people that are possibly in Spider-Man 3 later. But let me just go over the quotes. So the first person that came to me, and is full disclosure, this is somebody that I haven't worked with before, but I'll go into other sources later on. So Jon Bernthal and Marvel Studios are in talks, which could result, sorry, I forgot to put the article here, which could result in the actor coming back to play the Punisher in the MCU. So that was the very first thing I was told, and I pressed them further to ask them whether this would be for a movie or for a TV show, and they said, as it stands, this would be for an appearance in one of the upcoming Disney Plus shows, but that could evolve into an appearance in the movies also. So then a second source, so I kind of just waited for people to either come to me with the same information, or I did go to people I've worked with in the past who I have managed to verify who they are, and they are in fact who they say they are, and that they do work closely with Marvel Studios. And so one of the people I've asked, again, this is a source I've worked with in the past before, said, yes, I can confirm that Jon Bernthal is talking to Marvel Studios regarding a return as Frank Castle to the MCU. A third source also then went on to confirm this and said that, Yes, Jon Bernthal is in talks. So he went. This person said Marvel and Bernthal are talking. These talks have been going on for a while, and Bernthal is very keen to play the Punisher in as many things as possible, TV shows and movies. So they're all the quotes I got up there, and actually they're the three sources that told me this. So it does come from three separate sources with reported close ties to Marvel Studios. And this to me kind of makes sense, because now that Jon Bernthal has played the Punisher, I really think it would be very, very difficult for them to recast the role. And of course, Marvel Studios now has the rights back. They ended up reverting back to Marvel Studios along with the rights to Daredevil. So this is pretty big news as far as I'm concerned, because it seems as though Marvel is now kind of building up a roster of characters that are kind of more Earth-based, and they're going to, they are all based on Earth, and they're going to be very much the center of kind of the Disney Plus shows. And then you've got the likes of like the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor and all that kind of go more cosmic, and they'll be more the kind of the movie side of things. Doctor Strange is going into the multiverse, as is Spider-Man 3. So the movies seem to be going weirder and weirder and weirder, and into definite kind of more comic book areas, let's say, like space, different Earths, different universes, things like that. Whereas the TV shows, it seems as though these shows will kind of not necessarily be more kind of based in reality, but will take place more on Earth. And one of those shows seems to be She-Hulk. And this is the show that I really do believe both Charlie Cox and Jon Bernthal will end up being involved in, and I wonder whether they'll be involved in the same episode. So I'm thinking, again, this is now pure speculation, and I have asked my sources to clarify this, but it seems as though either they don't know or they're just gone a bit radio silent on me as far as that's concerned. But now this is speculation. So I'm thinking that they'll be in an episode of She-Hulk. And I'm even wondering whether She-Hulk and Matt Murdock will either both represent Frank Castle in court, or one of them will represent him in court. Because it's kind of, Frank Castle will definitely be incarcerated, I'm pretty sure, at some point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Why not start off with that? I think that'd be quite interesting. Why not have either She-Hulk or Matt Murdock be able to get him off and get him out of there. Of course, She-Hulk is quite famous for actually representing superheroes in the Marvel comics. So it's something that she's done in the past. The Punisher's not quite a superhero. He is. I think he's a hero, but a lot of people call him an anti-hero or a vigilante. But what do you guys think about that? Is this something you'd like to see? Have you been dying to see Jon Bernthal return as the Punisher, aka Frank Castle? Let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on to the next bit of news, which again is related to Charlie Cox. So this is, again, Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. So Charlie Cox's Daredevil is rumored to face off against Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight. So this actually comes to us from Mikey Sutton over at Geekosity. And actually he's done, if you've been following Geekosity over the last couple of months, and if you were one of the many people to have watched the recent Disney Investors Day presentation, you would have realized that actually a lot of their scoops ended up being 100% true. So they obviously, Mikey Sutton over there obviously has some very, very solid sources, and I would start paying a lot of attention to what they're saying and to what he's saying in particular. But so let's have a look at what he said. So in his article, basically, he said, "Insiders told me months ago that Feige would like Daredevil to meet Moon Knight on his upcoming Disney Plus series. It would be a thrilling way of introducing Daredevil's streetwise grit and spiritual struggles in the streaming network to the streaming network. Perfectly aligned with the ominous I can't speak. It's quite late over here. Ominous glow of Moon Knight. There are roots in the comic books as well. They joined forces in Moon Knight number 13 in 1981 in a story by writer Doug Moench and illustrator Bill, I'm not going to be able to say that last name, Sienkiewicz. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. That seems to be a running gag on this show. But so it sounds as though Charlie Cox will be involved in Moon Knight. One of the funny things about the Moon Knight series and actually the Disney the Disney Investors Day presentation was that Kevin Feige didn't actually officially reveal or confirm that Oscar Isaac was playing Moon Knight. This is something that was actually confirmed or supposedly confirmed by Daredevil a couple of weeks ago. By Daredevil? By Deadline. Sorry. And I just thought it was a bit strange because I was thinking that was going to be one of the big things they wanted to announce. Also, I mean, the fact that they didn't really talk about Spider-Man 3, which I spoke about before, just because it's not to do with, it's more kind of Sony Pictures are going to be dealing with that a bit more. But I was a bit surprised. So I'm waiting to hear from. I'm excited to hear confirmation. I'm pretty sure it's spot on because Deadline tends to be pretty accurate with their exclusives. But what do you think about this? The idea of Daredevil facing off against Moon Knight. It's something that I think could work, but I do personally. I'm more kind of angling more towards Daredevil being in She-Hulk, but then again, he could be in both. Charlie Cox is a fantastic actor, and I'm pretty sure he'd like to play the character as much as possible, and it might end up just being kind of small cameos here and there, and then leading in either to his own series or, as we were told, his own movie, which I think would be really, really fascinating. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Right, moving on to what I was kind of talking about before, and that is that Willem Dafoe is rumored to be in talks for Spider-Man 3 and one other MCU movie. Again, this comes from Daniel Rickman. He's got, again, tons of sources, apparently, and this is another one of them. And according to his sources, Willem Dafoe is currently in talks to cameo or appear in Spider-Man 3 and one other MCU movie. So this, again, it sounds to me like the rumors is that the 3 Spider-Men are going to be fighting their own villains. So you're going to probably get Andrew Garfield fighting Jamie Foxx's Electro, Tobey Maguire having to battle the Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and then Tom Holland going up against, I don't know who, but there's also Alfred Molina's Doc Ock in there. Are they just doing a really quick Sinister Six thing? Possibly. I really don't know at this point. This movie to me is incredibly confusing, and I've been really, really asking people about it, and it seems as though there's lots of conflicting information out there at the moment, which is why I haven't really written anything about it, because I've been told wildly different things, and nothing's been corroborated by anybody really. One of the ideas is that the final act of this movie is going to be like all the kind of old and new Spider-Man villains all coming together for like one big fight against the 3 Spider-Men. Personally, I'm not sure if that's possible because first off, why would they wait until now to try and tie these actors down when it's like for a final battle sequence, which is a big deal. You know, it's a pretty big deal as far as I'm concerned. That was the same problem I had with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield having kind of major roles in the movie. I'm pretty sure they're going to have very, very small cameos in the film, as are all of these actors. I think it's going to be like maybe even kind of just voiceover work. I was thinking like they could end up doing what they did in the Star Wars movies recently, where they had all the kind of old like actors come back just to do voiceover stuff. So that could be one solution. I'm actually leaning more and more towards that, because that's stuff that they can just end up kind of throwing on the cutting room floor if it doesn't work out between them and the actor. But this kind of is insinuating that Willem Dafoe is going to be more involved and more heavily involved further down in the MCU. I mean, I was told this a while back, and I did actually write the article that he was going to be, if not the main villain, one of the villains in the movie. That was something that was told to me by a source that, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't been working with since. But it's like, it just feels a bit too haphazard. I think that's the thing that really I struggle with, the idea that someone like Kevin Feige would leave all of this down to like the very last second. I would have thought he would have had all of this kind of figured out and sorted months or maybe even years ago. As soon as like Far From Home finished, I would have thought that they would be working on contracts, getting Tobey Maguire involved and Andrew Garfield involved and Willem Dafoe involved. But it sounds as though this is all happening now, which I just think, to me, just kind of makes it feel like this is stuff that that it doesn't necessarily need to be in the movie, that they just want it to be. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I kind of rambled about that for a bit, and I do apologize, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Right, moving on to kind of a bit of a it's a story, but it's just something that I noticed, and that's that Blade is going to be coming out before Captain Marvel 2, according to Marvel Studios themselves. So they released a release schedule of their upcoming films, and interestingly enough, and it was supposedly in chronological order, and interestingly enough, Blade was put ahead of Captain Marvel 2 and just behind Black Panther 2. So I'll show here. So you've got Black Widow coming out. Black Widow coming out on May 7th, 2021. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings coming out on June 9th, 2021. Eternals, November 5th. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, March 25th. Thor: Love and Thunder, May 6th. Black Panther, July 8th. And then Blade, undated, but it is there, and it's in between Black Panther 2 and Captain Marvel 2, which is coming out on November 11th. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, it's a mad name, which is also untitled. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is scheduled for release in 2023. And then Fantastic Four, which is undated. So this again is supposedly chronological. I find that a bit difficult to believe, to be honest, because that would mean that if this is true, that would mean that you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies coming out in 2022. Marvel movies, and they've never done that before. I think that's too much. I would assume that Doctor Strange, Thor: Love and Thunder, and Captain Marvel 2 will come out in 2022. I think Black Panther and Blade will be pushed into either 2023 or 2024, possibly. So this is just speculation. But because of what's been going on with Black Panther 2, I wouldn't be surprised to see that be pushed into 2023, especially with what's been going on with the Letitia Wright. I'd be worried a bit if I was writing that film, and I don't know. I hope. I mean, it seems as though Ryan Coogler's kind of figured that movie out, and they're kind of going to go into production for it pretty soon, apparently. So maybe that will come out, but Blade doesn't have anyone confirmed for it apart from Mahershala Ali. And I did say in a recent live I did with another YouTuber that I was actually quite worried about Blade, because they haven't announced anything about that film. I mean, that they've put it in this list, and they've put it between Black Panther 2 and Captain Marvel 2. And I just think, well, 2022 just seems way too crowded now. When is that movie going to come out? What, August? Is it really going to come out in August? I mean, maybe. It's the movie that I'm actually personally I'm really excited for it, because I love Blade and I love Mahershala Ali, and I just hope that they get a really good director and writer in for it. I mean, I'm assuming they're already writing the script. At least I hope they are. But it's I'm just a bit worried. I'm a bit worried about that film, I'm going to be honest. Also because it will possibly be R-rated. And also, when's Deadpool 3 going to factor into all of this? I'm hearing, I mean, we have heard rumors that it's not going to be around until 2024, even though that actually officially does have writers on board. So Blade doesn't even have a writer. So I'm just thinking, what is going on with this film? Why haven't they released more information about it? Like, Mahershala Ali's a fantastic actor. I think it's great casting, but it seems as though they kind of cast the movie quite early and are kind of dragging their heels a bit as far as like getting this film into. Is it even in pre-production? I don't know. I'm hoping it is. If they put it in that list, it means it is. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Right, moving on to the next bit of news. The next bit of news is, let me just get my list up here. Yes, Sony Pictures is reportedly considering making an R-rated and gory Carnage movie. So this again comes from Mikey Sutton's Geekosity, or other way around. Geekosity is Mikey Sutton, excuse me. But yeah, he's, again, as I said before, he's someone that you should really pay attention to. His scoops have proven to be pretty much spot on. I'll be interested to do like an analysis on his scoops, actually, to see how many of them are like what the percentage is. But according to him, like Sony Pictures are thinking of making this Carnage movie. So, of course, Carnage is a character that's going to be played by Woody Harrelson in the upcoming Venom Let There Be Carnage, which again I think is a pretty bad name. But I'm actually very excited about this movie because I'm a big fan of Tom Hardy's. I'm also a very big fan of Andy Serkis. Especially, I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he's a really, really talented individual. But I'm very excited to see what he can do behind the camera. And of course, a lot of The Hobbit was actually directed by him, and there are many reasons why that is. Peter Jackson, needed a lot of help with that movie because he was kind of left in the lurch by Guillermo del Toro. It's just one of those things. But he asked for Andy Serkis's help. And he's also directed some movies recently which have actually been quite good. I'm blanking on their names. This usually happens to me, but. No, according to, I'll just read out what Mikey Sutton wrote. So Sony's preference is to have Carnage eventually tangle with the MCU's soon-to-be-unveiled supernatural gang, the Midnight Suns, fighting the likes of Ghost Rider. But for now, they are looking at a Carnage solo spin-off in the next Venom, if the next Venom takes a huge bite out of the box office, which I'm pretty sure it will do. The Venom that came out a couple of years back, was it 2018? I quite enjoyed it, even though I know it's not a fantastic film. I thought it was actually quite fun, and I think a lot of people will be going back again. I think there's a big pull whenever kind of Tom Hardy's involved, and the character is something that people really do gravitate towards, of the character of Venom. And this film is going to introduce Carnage, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be played by Woody Harrelson, who's a brilliant actor. He's going to be a very, very good villain. So I'm very optimistic about that movie, and also the future of like this kind of Venom kind of spin-off movies. I think a Carnage film will actually be quite an interesting one to watch. But let me know what you guys think about that. Is Carnage a character? What's his actual? I'm blanking on his actual name. If someone can in the comments can tell me what his actual name is, because I'm really. Is it Cletus? Cletus Cassidy? Is such a weird name, but he's a popular character from the comic books. I've heard a lot of people say they're not massive fans of Carnage because he's a bit kind of one note. I think he's a serial killer that kind of blends with it. He blends with a symbiote and becomes Carnage and becomes just even more of a kind of raging lunatic. But I think played by Woody Harrelson and written properly, I think there's kind of that you can have a good balance there between that character, that actor, and the story. And I think it would end up being quite a good movie. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Right, moving away from movie stuff and onto TV news. Oh no, sorry, I missed out one bit of movie news, and that's that Chris Pine, as according to Variety, been cast in the Dungeons and Dragons film. So this is something that I was a bit like, oh, this is happening. Vin Diesel's been attached to it, Joe Manganiello's been attached to it, but no, apparently Chris Pine is going to be in it. So of course Chris Pine his next movie is Wonder Woman 1984. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a great actor. Dungeons and Dragons is something that I've never actually played a game of Dungeons and Dragons. That's probably that's not good. The opportunity's never come about, which is a shame. I'm a big tabletop game guy. I think I personally love it. But what do you guys think about a Dungeons and Dragons movie starring Chris Pine? Let me know that in the comments below. Right, now that little bit of news is out of the way, now onto the TV stuff. So The Witcher Season 2 is continuing filming despite Henry Cavill's injury. So Henry Cavill, it was reported yesterday that Henry Cavill was injured on set whilst doing some sort of assault course. Apparently he was on, I got it here, he was in a harness, working at the height of 20 feet, and he actually ended up really hurting his leg. So he's actually now been put on the sidelines, but they're continuing filming. I thought they would stop. It was reported yesterday that they're going to stop filming, but apparently no. They've got to continue. They've got to finish this thing. With or without Henry Cavill, they're going to finish it. I'm a bit worried now. I mean, hopefully he'd done most of his stuff before, but apparently he was seen on set and he could hardly walk, they were saying. So he just wasn't able to shoot any of the scenes that they wanted him to shoot or that he wanted to shoot. And he, of course, is someone, ever since working on Mission Impossible Fallout and working with Tom Cruise in particular, he's kind of adamant that he wants to do his own stunts. That's something that's very important to him. And I understand that. I think that gives the performance that kind of extra oomph, which is one of the reasons why I think The Witcher Season 1 was so... I had problems with the show, but I thought the action set pieces and the sequences in it, especially involving Henry Cavill, were really, really, really effective. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do with Season 2. Hopefully this won't be that much of a delay as far as Henry Cavill's concerned, but he's going to be put on the sidelines and they're going to be filming other stuff. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Right, moving on to The Mandalorian. So Pedro Pascal has revealed that he wants to appear as Din Djarin, in other Star Wars TV shows aside from The Mandalorian. So this, of course, is after it was revealed that Ahsoka is going to be getting her own spin-off series, and also there's another show called The Rangers of the New Republic, which is another show that's a spin-off from The Mandalorian, and it sounds as though Pedro Pascal is very, very keen on appearing in both of those shows. So here's what he had to say. Man, fingers crossed, how could you not? This is something that's so much bigger than all of us, and we are all a passenger to it in a great way. And so I find out as it is decided and shared. And so I think he means I found out. I think that's, again, this quote comes from comicbook.com. And then he does talk a little bit. Sorry, he did it in the interview, explained that he has to be part of the upcoming titles outside of his own. So he went on to talk about Patty Jenkins, who of course was recently confirmed to be the director of Star Wars Rogue Squadron. That's her next movie after 1984. Sorry, Wonder Woman 1984. And then they could have asked me to play a piece of furniture. Charles Roven, the producer I was working with at the time, and he's a powerhouse of a man, has taken such good care of me. And then Patty, I'm a fan. From the very, very first movie to what she's done on TV, the first Wonder Woman movie, and so on. And for an actor to get work with her, it doesn't get much better, really. I mean it. So he's I think he wants to be in that film, in Star Wars Rogue Squadron. I'm not sure how that will work out. Maybe he could be in like another suit. But what do you think about this? Do you think The Mandalorian will appear in other Star Wars TV shows? I'm pretty sure he will, to be honest. I think he'll be in both to a certain degree. I think it'll be like a cameo type thing. His main show will probably go on for 5 seasons, I think. I think they'll get 5 seasons out of that. And then they'll have these spin-off shows that will possibly do really well as well. I'm pretty sure the Ahsoka Tano film series is going to do really well. I'm pretty curious to see how Rangers of the New Republic does. That again, they're both kind of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni shows. So it's a pretty good thing. I think he's got a point. I think he wants some more work. Again, there were rumors that he was upset about playing the character because he didn't get to take his helmet off, and yeah, that proved to be total rubbish. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Right, final story of the day, and that's that Neil Gaiman has finally said something about the Sandman series. He said he's proud of the Sandman series, and that's coming to Netflix. So he was actually asked, he wasn't really asked a question, but someone said on Twitter, the Sandman's been filming for almost 2 months now, and we have yet to see any leaks of casting news. The curiosity is killing me. And then they added Neil himself, which is Neil Gaiman. And Neil Gaiman quote tweeted the tweet and said, "I'm proud of all involved." So it is strange that we haven't heard anything about this series since it began shooting. We haven't heard any casting news for it. Netflix is actually very good at keeping things under wraps. I'm going to be completely honest with you there. That nothing really leaks from Netflix, but if you're not sure who Neil Gaiman is and what the Sandman is a brilliant series of comic books. I believe, actually, I have quite a few of them behind me. I love them. I think they're some of the best kind of books, just in general, I've ever read. A really good series. He, of course, also wrote American Gods. He wrote Coraline. He wrote the Graveyard Book, Stardust, and my personal favorite, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which actually hasn't been made into a movie, but a lot of them have either been made into movies or TV shows. Coraline was made into like a stop motion movie, which was fantastic. American Gods was made into a TV show, which was it was middling. It should have been better than it was. Stardust was made into a really good movie. And he's just a very talented writer, and his stuff seems to work very well on the big screen as well. There was actually a really good Audible version of The Sandman, which had people like Riz Ahmed in it, and it had blank on his name now, Scottish actor. McAvoy, James McAvoy. They did some voiceover work for that, and it was really, really good. If you like Audible and you like listening to audiobooks, I highly recommend the Sandman audiobook. It's brilliant. Yeah, I think it's not all of the books. I think it stops at like volume 5 maybe, but there's a lot of them, so maybe they're going to do a second one. But it's something that I really, really love. I love the Sandman. I cannot wait for this show. There were rumors that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to be involved, or he was like planning a movie or something, but I don't think he's involved anymore. But let me know what you guys think. Is the Sandman something you're interested in? Are you excited for it? It's coming to Netflix. Let me know in the comments below. Right, and with that, that's the show. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Again, if you would rather listen to this in podcast form, you can find that at Small Screen Stories, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow Small Screen everywhere on social media. That's at Small Screen Co. And if you could give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, that'd be brilliant. If you could like and subscribe over on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch as well. We're still on Twitch. You can follow me at EJ Lauder, and also why don't you go and check out the site, which is I can't speak tonight, which is at small-screen.co.uk. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Goodbye.